Wasn't going to give the keys to the manager, so we had to get the police involved. Squatting in the property with crack.
Crack.
I'm going to be the one to say it. The plumbing that had to get fixed after the pipe froze, we have to redo. Oh. And right before that happened, we were probably only down by like $50K at that point in the property. And then someone crashes into our property.
Welcome, Nighthawks. We've been expecting you. The hour's late, but the party is just getting started. I'm Alistair Kovacs, your host for a sophisticated little soiree with jazz.
Most people are only going to show you all the highlights, all their wins on Instagram and YouTube. But here at Other People's Money, we want to make sure we're giving you the very best information that you guys can learn from. So it's important that not only we share the victories with you guys, but the losses as well too. The heartbreaking losses that we learn a ton from, and hopefully you guys can learn a ton from. So we're going to tell you the story of our worst property ever by far to date. And if you guys stay to the end of this video, we're going to make sure that we give you all the right information so this never happens to you and you guys can avoid this completely. So to start, it was one of the first properties we ever bought. Very young, very ambitious. We just wanted to, I flipped a couple of houses, but this was our first time coming together as the group collective and really starting off the real estate investment stuff. So we were ambitious with it. We had a little bit of money all collectively pulled together. So we went out, we wanted to find a value add property, right? No problem. That's what you want to do. Find a value add property. But the problem was, we were overly ambitious in the value add that we thought that we could handle and we thought that we could do to this property.
But the original contractor that we used was a guy that did a few of those properties for Brandon, the single families.
That's the difference, right? Is like, just because you can do a single family house does not mean that you can do a fourplex. And that's the thing that we found out shortly thereafter, after it took him a month and a half to complete the one unit. And we just didn't want to stop him while he was working on the one unit. We knew we were going to have somebody else take over after the one unit, but it was just about not stopping and getting at least the one unit done. So what we do after we let that first contractor go might go down as one of the greatest mistakes we've ever made. So we, at that time, we're thinking about scalability, right? We had other properties going on. It wasn't just this one. This was the first, but we started moving quickly. And we were like, hey, if we can get an in-house contracting team with a guy on our side who our visions are aligned, we know they're competent, we know they're good, they can manage things for us on the ground, because we live in Los Angeles, this will change the game for us.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a friend, it's one of Julian's old friends who he met a while ago, who literally all he does is construction work. All he's ever done is construction work. All he does is construction work. Very competent at construction work. I will give him that. So we are like, yo, look, this is our guy. We've known him for a while. Let's partner with him. Let's make him head of what we're doing on the contracting side of things. And this is going to be able to change the way that we do stuff, right? Great idea.
Oh, yeah.
That sounded very good on paper.
Put the homie on, and it makes the business a lot more easy to run.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds great, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want to get into the next part of that story?
Of course it didn't go great.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't turn out well, as you guys both know. But yeah, simply put, he was supposed to pay the previous contractor, which was kind of, in a way, I will admit, our fault a little bit, but
we had no reason to believe this would happen.
We had
no reason to believe he wasn't going to pay the old contractor.
Exactly. There was literally zero signs of it, zero reason to believe that. And yeah, long story short, he didn't pay the old contractor that had came to collect his payment or whatever. I guess when he came to collect the money from the new contractor, he was like, oh, I already paid one of your, foremans or one of your workers. They came in, apparently collected your money. And, the old contractor was like, well, that didn't happen. Kind of just went from there. And I mean, it was about a couple weeks or almost even a month gap between when he first said okay, I haven't got paid. And, the new contractor was telling us no, I paid somebody that was part of his crew. And at that point, we're like, well, it's out of our hands.
He say, she say.
Exactly. Well, the old contractor, he wasn't letting it go.
So, no.
He was not letting it go.
No. Exactly. He was not letting that go. So, he pulled up to, our property, while I was getting work done and
caused an altercation.
Caused a scene. We won't get into too many details, but I'll say the contractor got his money's worth on that new contractor. So, I mean, it obviously just set us back again, because now we had this new contractor that we're just questioning, even or I'm gonna say even harder, but questioning now, kind of looking at funny. obviously he, you know what I'm saying, he got his money worth, so he's not working for, you know, a couple days or whatever. So yeah, it was just a terrible situation.
But then on top of that, this guy, because they were working on the property for a while, or at least a little bit before that incident happened.
Yeah.
And within that time, we started seeing cracks in the foundation beginning to appear.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it was just things not happening right, things not going up the schedule, just the lack of professionalism, like a lack of just desire to want to do it on our homie's part, who we had put in that position. Even before that thing happened, like there were things going on, and we were just looking at it like, man, like why can't we get it right with this property? And then that incident happened. Things ended up going poorly, and
on the contractor number 3.
So
I'll let Cam tell.
Oh Lord. Yeah, contractor number 3 was really funny. So he was this gentleman who
he was the son of our tenant who lived next door.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's it. That's who he was.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the crazy thing is, this guy was actually working as like an assistant. Like he was assisting contractor number 2. Y'all remember that? He was like originally like a helper of the second contractor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he eventually took over as like head contractor or whatever. And then we come to find out, you know, I want to say maybe like, what was it, like 2, maybe 3 months down the line?
I would say about 2 months.
Yeah, about 2 months down the line, I get an email. I want to say maybe like 11, 12 at midnight on our work email talking. It's someone who's apparently been helping this new contractor, saying there's people there after hours. People are sleeping in the property. They're squatting. There's animals. There's various illegal drugs that are like felony drugs. So it's like, it's really bad. It's not.
And
no
in our attachments are 3, 5, 6, 7 pictures attached that just each one is more mind blowing than the last one.
We got text messages of conversations. We got pictures of drugs. We got pictures of people, pictures of other people's sleep, pictures of people we've never seen before who've got no business being there. We got pictures of our contractor barefoot in the work site. It was bad, and then he tries to squat there, and we tried to get at the very end of it, we tried to get the keys from him because he's obviously not staying as our contractor. Of course, he's not staying as our contractor. So we try and get the keys from him. We send one of our property managers up there to go collect the keys, and he's like, "Oh well, no, I'm not going to give you the keys. Like, let me talk to the Brandon, Julian, and Cameron. Like, let's get this figured out." And so we ended up talking to him, let him know, well, of course he's not employed by us anymore. Of course he needs to give the keys to our property manager. And then I don't know how it didn't end there.
Yes,
because
he wasn't going to give the keys to the manager, so we had to get the police involved.
Yeah, exactly. We had to get the police involved.
And at first they were trying to play hardball, honestly. Remember, they were like, "Oh yeah, this is nothing we can really do. It's like a civil matter."
It's a civil matter.
I'm just like a civil matter that somebody's squatting
in the property with crack.
Crack.
I'm gonna be the one to say it.
Yeah, let's get it all out in the open if we're doing that. It was crack, coke, and needles. So I'm guessing that's like heroin or meth or something.
Oh, yeah, it was a very bad situation.
Oh yeah, they find those. Well, they're taking you to jail, and well, we don't want to be held liable as the owners. So well, of course you're not employed by us anymore.
And okay, so at this point, right, we're on to contractor number 3, and it's going poorly, right? This is at least like 7-8 months into us owning this property that originally the first contractor said was going to have a 2-month time frame. At this point, we've done several more properties in the process, like maybe 10 more deals since that point. So at this point, we have connections and we have agents and stuff like that. We've worked with other people and stuff. So we have a really great contractor at this point who comes in and takes a look at this property. This is where us being down 100,000 comes into play, right? He goes there, he looks at all the work done by everybody. He says we have to scrap it all.
Oh yeah,
everything's got to be scrapped.
Wait. Was this before or after the flood? The pipes burst in the flood.
During
the winter. During the winter, the pipes burst. It was a major
winter
flood.
Winter is coming type of situation.
The winter is coming. All you Game of Thrones fans, winter is coming. Winter comes and it bursts your pipes, and you have to pay for it, and you have to pay to get it cleaned up.
Yeah, that was terrible. So that happened like
you said we brought the property in May,
April.
Late
April. It was very late April.
And what that happened like February?
No, that was like November.
I don't remember.
December, really? Yeah. It was definitely not like during this year, I don't think. I think it was like November, December.
No.
I might be wrong, but it was.
So it was between contract.
Well, nonetheless,
3 and 4.
nonetheless, that would be about 8 months.
Yeah.
eight to 10 months into us owning it. That's when that happened. So
let's just say somewhere between December and January.
And I think this is right before our last contractor comes in, who told us that everything needed to be gutted. But yeah, at this point, the pipes just completely burst in the property, and so we have to strip down the walls, and like 3 units that have already been like at least 60-70% renovated, strip down the walls, strip down everything, fix all that, dry it out, serve pros out there. Our contractors are out there. It's just like, it's a ridiculous nonstop situation. And then, like I said, once the newest contractor, who's actually good, we've worked with him for a while now, he comes in and he takes a look at everything, says everything has to be scrapped.
What kind of shit is that?
Down to the wiring, down to the plumbing. I'm talking about everything's got the plumbing that had to get fixed after the pipe froze. We have to redo.
Oh, that had to go.
So that is currently kind of where we stand in the timeline of this property.
No, wait, there's more. There's more. Look, so yeah, to add insult to injury, so this whole time, right, this work has been getting done
with the new contractor.
Without us having to work with the city, do permits and do all that nonsense and all that, somebody just randomly one night, you know what I'm saying, while the contractor is not like while he's actually there, of course, but the contractor's working on the property or whatnot, somebody some night just decides to run their car into the porch, and it just ruined the entire porch, and at
just
that
crashed the car into our porch.
Just crashed into
Julian gets a call from the tenant that lives there, the one tenant that still is there.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about a car has crashed into the porch.
Oh yeah, there was a collision.
Yeah, so at that point, now the city comes out to like inspect what happens and does all that good stuff. And they're like, well, you guys kind of need a permit to do the porch. And they're like, while we're here, let's take a look inside. They're like, wait a second. This is a gut job. You guys need permits to do all this too. Now it just further pushes the timeline down because now we got to apply for permits and do all this and play the waiting game with the city. And that's never fun, and it just takes a lot of time. It's kind of our first go around with that, at least. So it's definitely a learning experience, but yeah, it's super annoying having to deal with that. But yeah, like I said, just to add insult to injury, like I said, that was more or less one of the more random things too. The pipes could have been avoided, whatever. It's an old building. There's lessons to be learned there. But like somebody running into your building, there's like nothing you can do about that. That's just bad luck. That's just a cursed property. So yeah, like I said, things were actually looking up. We're like, okay, we got this good.
And right before that happened, we were probably only down by like $50K at that point in the property. And then someone crashes into our property.
It was real
crashes, bro. And I'm talking.
What kind of shit is that?
And I'm talking about all we're allowed to do is put up a 2x4 to stabilize the porch so it just doesn't completely fall down and collapse on itself. Outside of that, it has to be permitted work.
Yep.
So you're talking about another $30,000-$40,000 to completely repair the porch.
Well, after you get the permit.
So
it's bad.
It's just a bad situation. It's all in all. And again, like, I think everything.
But the part that we want y'all to understand is every step in this outside of the car crashing in your property was avoidable on our end.
Yeah, exactly.
Thankfully, we didn't get demoralized by this. We kept on pushing through while we were dealing with all these problems. And because of us getting better there, we were able to use our experience and our connections and our solutions to apply it to this horrible property. But like all of these things probably could have been avoided.
Oh yeah, easily. Not easily, but definitely could have been avoided.
Definitely could have been avoided. Yeah. And that like if you're an entrepreneur and you're watching this, you have to be humble enough to look at yourself and be like, what did I do wrong here? Because like, you know what I mean? Like,
no, exactly.
If you look at everything like things are just going bad and it's out of your control and stuff like that, you'll never be able to actually improve. So you have to look at what's going on, what you did wrong, what mistakes you made, and learn from that and fix them. And but thankfully we learned from our mistakes and we've been able to build a very successful and booming real estate portfolio after that, on top of that. But we still have this 4-unit property in our portfolio.
It's just a headache.
That just will not leave us alone.
Bro, y'all low key forgot about them leases that we had too.
Facts.
Damn.
I'm talking crappy leases, crappy contractors, everything. This was going bad. So these leases pretty much were set up to where all of our cash flow just pretty much getting eaten. We on paper, figure like, okay, we're making X amount of dollars in cash flow. Turns out that with the leases, we're paying utilities like water, gas, electric,
Trash. We're paying everything.
Paying everything. So the money that we're assuming we're making, clearly not making it. It just, like I said, this was a bad situation. The leases were terrible. And it just added the insult to injury type of feeling, in my opinion. Like, in the grand scheme of it. And what makes it real bad in hindsight looking back is that all this was taking place before we even put a contractor in. Like, we had to go through this. Like we had to put up with the tenants who didn't, just didn't want to resign and stuff, because we're like, okay, we're clearly not about to keep paying you guys or not paying you guys as, power, electric, and all this stuff.
Yeah,
like,
that lease got to go.
It got to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't want to resign, then that's totally understandable. But they were just trying to play super hardball with us, and it just made the situation is really a headache just from the very beginning. And then once we got over that hump, it was immediately into contract number one. And we've already told you the story about how that went. So
definitely. I feel like despite us going through it and like we learned lessons from this, I feel like the lessons didn't have to necessarily be so expensive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like one of the key takeaways that we learned from this, which thankfully we haven't had to deal with another property so far, is just cut your losses early.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're down bad in a situation, like obviously you don't want to get in it, but most people, once they get in a situation, like their ego takes over and they're just like, nah, I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna finish it out strong and I'm gonna make it happen. Right now, like we're down $80,000 to $100,000.
Right.
3-4 months into this property, we could have realized it was too much. We could have learned most of the lessons that we've learned now from it and probably been down $30,000.
Yeah, I say $20,000, $30,000.
$30,000. And that would have hurt at the time, but we would have been able to do so much more with the capital we invested in that building over the course of now 15 months and shit like that. So
exactly.
Yeah, no, that probably was like one of the biggest things that we
don't let your ego and your pride lose you a bunch of money, because I mean it applies to like something like business in the real world. Like people think like it's like a good example is like gambling or something, like that's what people do and get like, okay, I'm already 20-30K down. Like I might as well try to win this back, or, what I'm saying, lose it all type of situation. And like, obviously we were never looking at like, we're all in on this property, like we'll lose it all. But the common theme is still there of like, just knowing when to get out. You know what I mean? You got to know when to fold your cards.
Or don't assume that you're stuck with it. You can always find someone who's willing to buy mid-project.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. That's why having like, just a good, list of good people, good connections, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brokers, real estate agents, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And one last giant turd on top of the turd pie is the fact that we had borrowed $60,000 from an investor for the rehab budget on this property, which is now sitting comfortably over $120,000. So thankfully, via our other projects and our other successes, we were able to pay off the investor and not be drowned in debt. But we at least paid a year of interest on something that we were losing money on in every single other way at all times. So there's a lot of bad things that went wrong with this property. And that was why it was important for us to share you this story.
Yeah.
Because so many people are only going to talk about the successes, but if they don't touch on the major losses, then they're not really given that clear picture onto what the journey's like, the wins, the losses, and more than anything, they're not really giving you guys the real details that are going to help you learn and become better at what you're doing. So again, if we had to summarize the 5 things you can take away from this property, it's number 1, don't buy old properties, right? Like we have cut off anything under like 1960, 1950. Yeah. Like if it's had a great rehab and it's a little bit earlier than that, we might take a look at it. But other than that,
we have like a full rehab.
We have completely cut off old properties, because when you're doing renovations on those, you're 9 times out of 10, you're going to find stuff all over the place that goes wrong with it that you had never even expected, that the inspection didn't catch. Anything, bro. It's just a nightmare waiting to happen.
No, exactly.
Like when you take your car to the dealership for one thing and they find Well, a laundry list of other things.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely how it is dealing with old properties. So
The second thing is always make sure you have a good vetted contractor for whoever's going to be working on whatever project. Make sure they can handle the style of rehab that you want them to do.
Yeah, like you want to make sure that like a family member who can vouch for them, a mentor can vouch for them, an agent can vouch for them, somebody who has seen their work, dealt with their work, knows how they work, knows that they're good, they're thorough, they're professional. That's paramount, because if you're just kind of just doing it blindly, or you're trying to help somebody and make a situation happen, you're likely going to end up not having the success that you would hope for.
Number 3 is avoid doing gut jobs unless you're working with somebody who has a ton of experience doing that. Otherwise, it'll like just be a total nightmare. Things will just pop up out of nowhere. And just make sure you get a really good inspection on the property too.
Yeah, we've done a gut job since then. We've been able to do it and kind of build up a little bit of experience, but we don't even really like doing them ourselves or doing them at all, just because when you do a gut job, it means that the property needs it. Like, you're never just doing it unless it's like a luxury home and you're like resizing it, or you're opening up floor plans and stuff. Typically, if you have to do a gut job,
like across the street from us.
Yeah, like typically if you have to do a gut job, it's because you need it. And if a property needs it, that means there's going to be a lot of things coming up in the renovation that you didn't account for, didn't budget for, and are just going to throw a wrench in your entire in your entire timeline and throw everything
and
off.
as far as working with somebody with experience, that's both the contractor and whoever you're like partnering with. Like, if it's good, obviously, to have the contractor have good experience in that. But if you're partnering with somebody on the deal or whatever, however is getting financed, or you have, partners that you work with, if that person is like, experienced as well in doing those big jobs, it just makes it way easier.
Fourth lesson that you got to learn: cut your losses early. Okay. I know it can be hard. Losing money's never fun. Losing in a situation is never fun. It takes a hit on the ego, but you got to cut your losses early. Don't be down 100,000 when you can only be down 20,000, because if you have to be down any money at all, which seems to be the case, you'd rather pick 20,000 over 100,000.
Yeah, exactly. You got to know when to fold them cars. You got to know when to fold them, I swear.
And and like our loss is like a small loss. Like, we have investors, we have friends, we have like all kinds of people we know who are big in business, big in real estate. We hear about $1 million losses,
right? Exactly.
$500,000 losses, $800,000 losses. And it's just like, they take them on the chin, but you don't want to take them at all.
It still hurts.
You don't want to take them at all.
It still hurts. You know what I mean? Whether you're used to it, or I wouldn't even say used to it, but whether you're prepared for it, you're expecting it. It's like this, okay? I'm a big boxing fan. Obviously, they say the punch that hurts the worst is the ones that you don't see coming, right? You know what I mean? Those are the ones that usually knock you out. But I mean, think about it. Even if you're prepared for the punch, you see it coming from a mile away. I can tell you, like, okay, I'm about to come punch you, and you can prepare for it for 10 seconds. When I walk up and punch you, it's still going to hurt really bad. So I think that's kind of, what I'm saying, the metaphor there is like, at the end of the day, it still sucks. You know what I mean? You can be prepared for it as much as you want to. But
shooting, cutting your losses early, basically, I'll go off the boxing analogy, is that you rather take a jab in the face rather than just a charged up right hook to the face. If you're going to get punched and you got to pick one, pick the jab in the face and get it over with.
Yeah, exactly. Nice little 1-2. It ain't going to put you down, but you know what I'm saying? It'll sting your lip.
Because the problem is, especially if you're just getting started in real estate, if you weren't willing to move past this one bad deal like we did, this could easily throw you off from ever doing another property ever again, another investment ever again. So it's like that right hook, we're able to take it because we've been able to keep going. But like to some people, this could be enough to deter you from ever investing in real estate again.
Throw in the towel, as they say.
Throw in the towel for this.
And the last thing would be, don't buy bad leases. Make sure lease cycles are, not terrible when people are going to be re-signing, people get out for whatever plans you've got for the building, and make sure that you aren't paying for every single utility that's assigned to the unit or whatever.
Yeah, Cam is head of acquisitions at our company, and one thing that we're doing now is like, if there is a bad lease situation, that directly for us affects the purchase price of a property. So
that's a very good, I feel like, tip. That's like something you just won't hear on your average, just like video or whatever. That's something that's really a jewel. Like if you're negotiating and stuff, to Brandon's point, if there's a bad lease that affects the way that your cash flow is going to go for a whole year or whatnot, like that should adjust the purchase price at that point.
Or if the owner of the property knows that the only way you can make money off this property is by coming in, doing work and raising the value so you can raise rents or whatever, but the lease doesn't end until next year. Okay, well, I need it for cheaper. Because
exactly.
you know this is the only way you can make this work is by doing work and raising rents or whatever. Okay, I can't do that for a year. Okay, I need it cheaper.
Yeah.
Simply put.
Yeah, exactly. To cover that year of waiting and not making any cash flow or potentially even losing money. You know what I mean? Whatever the numbers come out to, whenever you're expecting to get in and, you know, do work, like the sooner the better. You're always trying to get in there, you know, immediately. And if not, like you said, the numbers have to make sense, you know, to where it's like, okay, I can wait, you know, 8 months, I can wait a year. Like, so yeah, that's just something to always just keep in mind.
Yeah. Make sure you guys stay ambitious out there. Keep hunting for it. Keep wanting it all. But make sure you don't buy every single deal that comes across your desk that may seem like something that could potentially work out. Yeah. Because it won't.
No, it won't. It won't.
Buy smart, buy right, and use other people's money while you're doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Oh, didn't see you there. Guess that means you're at the end of the video. We'll go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel to make sure you never miss out on more amazing content.